UFC, fight, pass, step into a world. UFC, fight, pass, step into a world.
This is a special presentation from UFC Fight Pass. Step into our world at UFCFightPass.com.
Well, it's the dog days of summer here on UFC Fight Pass, and it's time for another installment of Extra Rounds. Hey, everybody, I'm TJ DeSantis, along with my main man when it comes to the summer heat. I don't know what that means. I don't even know what the dog days of summer means, Ray Longo. What does that mean? I've heard it said many a time, but I don't know if I've ever actually stopped to go, like, what is the dog days of summer?
I don't know, but I feel like barking. Is that weird?
I mean, yes, absolutely, but we like to do. All right, perfect.
I guess it is the dog days of summer.
Well, we've got that out of the way, so definitely not on my bingo card for tonight, but we are here to break things down. Courtesy of DraftKings Sportsbook, the UFC goes down under Perth, Western Australia for UFC 305. Middleweight title on the line for the very first time. DDP, Dricus du Plessis, will defend his title against, I want to say, a familiar foe, because these guys have been going back and forth after one another for what seems like an eternity, but they've never actually fought. The former middleweight king stands in front of the South African's way. His name is Israel Adesanya. He manifested this fight, Ray Longo, if you listen to him. I'm curious. When you look at Izzy, we've talked a lot about his fighting style compared to like when he came up as a contender and then when he was a champion. Sometimes that belt, it weighs heavy and makes you fight a little bit different. We did some statistical analysis that suggested maybe it wasn't necessarily Izzy's fighting style that had changed. Maybe it was just a level of opposition. We'll talk about the X's and O's here in a moment, but mentally, I'm curious what you think about this fight. And is this a battle that favors Izzy with all the drama, or does it favor the South African and Dricus du Plessis?
That's a good point. I really believe it favors DDP. He hasn't fought since Strickland. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right. So, and he said he had to take a break. You know what I mean? So it means he was mentally exhausted and all of that stuff. I think it's going to play into Dricus's hand, believe it or not. And Dricus is the type of fighter, man. He's coming forward. He's going to make you work too. Where Izzy likes to control the pace. If he could fight a slow fight, he's technical enough to do that. But he's going to get forced to fight, and I think that was part of the problem with Strickland. Strickland's an in-your-face fighter, although he's way more technical than du Plessis. I think du Plessis, because he's got will force the grappling. He will take chances going in. He makes it sloppy. You're going to have to work. So, for a guy coming off like a mental exhaustion, or he needed a mental break, this is a tough fight to come back to, I think, because you got a real dog in front of you. And again, I think with Strickland, it was the pressure that really just broke him. He couldn't get rid of him. And, if you look at some of the fights, even with like Yoel Romero, very slow-paced fight where he's just going to do what he has to do to win. I don't think it's going to be like that in this fight. I think du Plessis is coming forward. He's going to make it dirty, which he has to. And I think, that's where Izzy's got to be careful that he's got the energy expenditure or the gas tank to do what he wants to do.
Yeah, I agree with you wholeheartedly. I think about the Strickland fight, and Sean had him hurt early in the fight. First round, hurt him real bad, and then it just seemed like Izzy wasn't necessarily hurt throughout the rest of the fight, but he just couldn't get going. You mentioned the Yoel Romero fight, same sort of thing. I'm curious if DDP is aggressive, if maybe it doesn't sort of spark that fire inside Izzy, and if it is going to, I think we're going to find out early. But I do have the same sort of reservations that you do about Izzy. Sometimes he owns the moment, Ray, but a lot of times he also just sort of like watches the moment go by. And for better or for worse, he's come out on the right side, getting his hand raised a lot of times. But man, you're not going to be able to win over judges nor fans if you are not firing all cylinders in a championship fight. And I think Izzy's going to have to do just that, fire on all cylinders against a very motivated Dricus du Plessis who, there's that old saying, you're not really the champion until you defend that belt for the first time. Yeah. He wants to solidify his status. Do you expect DDP to be in Izzy's face right away?
100%. I don't think he knows any other way. And I don't think, look, Adesanya by far is the more technical striker
Right.
by far. But and I think even though Strickland's striking is good, is very good, he was able to really walk down Izzy. Now, could it be that he took that fight too soon, or there was a change up in opponents, whatever it was?
Right.
I just think it's going to be similar to that, only a sloppier version, and there's going to be more wrestling included, or more. Look, Duplessis is a big guy. He could weigh on you. He could really. I think that's got to be his strategy, just to make it a dog fight for the first 3 rounds, and then hope to do something. And I'll tell you, TJ, Duplessis was a guy, like, coming up, I thought he was awful. Like, I didn't even know what I was looking at, but he always found a way to win. And then, I don't know. Like, again, he's not technically, even with Strickland, that fight could have won either way. I'm sure, Strickland thought he won the fight. He has every reason to believe that. But he wasn't going anywhere.
I'm happy you brought that up, Ray, because I wanted to bring up the runs, their prospective runs between Izzy and DDP to the title, because, we talk about Izzy and, maybe needing some time away. I think it was time away he definitely deserved, because if you look at, what he had to do on his way up just to get to a title, Derek Brunson, Anderson Silva, Kelvin Gastelum, Robert Whitaker, and then obviously he's a champion. And then he falls short to Pereira, and then turns it around and gets a huge, crazy knockout victory. And then, just doesn't seem to have the drive that you need to remain champion against Sean Strickland. Now, if you look at Dricus, like, his rise has some opponents in common, but he met them at times where it just doesn't feel.
It was already over. Yeah, I agree with you. That's
Brad Tavares, Darren Till, Derek Brunson, Robert Whitaker. That Whitaker win looks a lot better now that Whitaker sort of rallied and is still in that mix. And then Sean Strickland, but you don't seem to have the same sort of the hype for Adesanya coming up. I mean, he got to win over Anderson Silva. I mean, granted, it wasn't
fantastic. No, he had the hype behind him.
Right.
I mean, the only way I see him fighting better if he goes in there and he's already, he already accomplished so much and he's just in a comfortable spot. Like, I noticed, even with Aljo now moving up to 45, it's a little different, but Aljo, I think the weight of that defending the belt and all the bullshit and the cutting the weight really took a toll on him. I see a different guy, man. He's getting better and better. I'm not Joe. He is really getting better and better. So I don't know if Izzy's at that point that you're kind of saying, did the title defenses and everything weigh on him heavy? I don't know if he's there, but that's the only thing. If he's in a good spot and he could let his game go like we know he can, then he's going to have a good night. I just think that I just think the pressure of the other guy is, and I think he's big enough to take some of those shots. And I know Izzy likes to fight. He likes to slow that pace down. You know what I mean? He's not a crazy pace fighter with scrambles and a lot of back and forth exchanges. So it's going to be interesting. That's what I want to see. I want to see how Duplessis goes about, attacking this fight.
It's interesting to me, back in the day, I look at a guy like Vitor Belfort, who had multiple incarnations of himself. Later in his career, I mean, it was always, is it the old Vitor, is it the new Vitor, is it the TRT Vitor?
Yeah.
I feel like we can say that about Adesanya a little bit. There's different incarnations, different versions of Izzy, and a lot of, how this fight is going to go on Saturday night in Perth is going to be based on what sort of version of Izzy we get.
It's hard to get that momentum back.
Yeah.
Once you've been at the top like that, and now you have a loss, it really is hard to get the momentum back. How old is Izzy now?
Let's take a look here. I got that right in front of me. It looks like he is 35.
Yeah, I mean that's starting to get up there.
Right, and not to mention he had a long, combat sports career as a kickboxer as well.
Yeah. He's been around for a long time, and again, I think what happens to these guys too. I'm sure he's at a point where he gets decent money, win or lose, for a fight. So I think they go into money making mode too. They want to get back to the top, but even if they don't, they're still making a paycheck, and it's not like I always said this with Weidman. Nobody was beating Weidman when he was in his mother's basement still. Like there was
Right.
nobody was going to beat him because he wanted to get out of there so fucking bad that you'd
Right.
have to kill him. And then when he got to the top and he had a couple of defenses, I just think it became like, all right, been there, done that.
Right.
And which, I'm not saying is good or bad, but
But
I think that's what happens. And now, he could get decent money for a fight. He still likes to fight, but it's not the same guy that was trapped in his mother's basement looking to get out.
right.
When
Of
you're
course.
on the way up and you got so many things in front of you and you start making money, you're getting it, it's a great period of time. So I think Izzy's been there again, done that. He lost to Strickland. He had to take time off. He said, maybe he was pushing his schedule too much.
Right.
We got to see, does he come back with the same desire? Like if
Right.
I'm Duplessis, I want to go in there and attack him right away and make him double think, like, maybe he should have taken another couple of months off.
Right.
You know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like, I think
Right. Sure.
that should be the game plan. Is like, let me just make this dirty, because,
Right.
like, again, I think Izzy, and we've seen it, if he could leg kick him a couple of times and stay ahead of him and not do much but secure the round, that's what he's
Yeah.
going to do. He's not going to,
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to go out there and attack him.
Right. Yeah, and that's the thing too. That's why I brought up the sort of emotional factor
Yeah.
here, because it could bring Izzy to a different sort of level. It could also play a factor where he overthinks things and doesn't try to get too emotional, and then doesn't start firing all cylinders.
Right.
And one thing I know, he cannot afford to let DDP get in his face the way that he did Strickland, because there was just no answer there over the course of 25 minutes. No answer. So we'll see what happens. Can you guess who the favorite is in this fight?
Ooh, I'm going to say it's close, but it's going to be Adesanya.
Yeah, it is. Very on the money you are,
Yeah.
Ray Longo. Minus 130 for the former middleweight king in Israel
Yeah.
Adesanya to come back on the reigning champion DDP plus 110.
Yeah, TJ, he's got the tools. He's got the tools to make the guy look stupid if he wants to. I just don't know if he's got the output. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Because, like,
I
again,
hear you.
that's the key. Strickland will jab the shit out of you for fight. He could do that probably for
sure.
10 rounds,
Yep.
Izzy's got to try to keep that same pace, and I don't think he's as comfortable doing that as Strickland is.
Yeah, we'll find out. Five-minute rounds Saturday night in Perth for the UFC's undisputed middleweight crown. Let's move to the flyweight division. We got Steve Erceg. He's back on the card. He's coming off a loss to Alexandre Pantoja in a fight that he did more favors for himself,
Without a doubt.
despite not getting the win.
And
he
that-
takes on
and
Kai
that-
Car-France. Go
and
ahead.
that's the key, is that he grew
Yeah.
from that fight. He
Yeah.
technically could have won that fight if
Right. That's
there
the
was a-
thing. The moral victory he won. You know what I mean? He just didn't get his hand raised.
That's a growing fight, right?
Yep.
So for him, I'm going to say he should do really good against Kai Kara-France, who's also talented, but I'm assuming Ursic's the favorite in that fight.
Erceg is the favorite, minus 162.
Yeah.
Car-France coming back at plus 136, also coming back for the first time in over a year. Had a concussion, which kept him out of a fight. I always wonder about that, Ray. And granted, this is just the internet telling me that he had a concussion. I don't know. I hadn't heard from him. I didn't really, dig too deep beyond what was told to me on the fact sheet there. But, I always wonder about a guy, taking a lot of time off and then coming back after, being a little bit wary. Because, I mean, it's a fine line when you're sparring, Ray. You want to, be able to make sure you're good, but at the same time, you don't want to take any unnecessary damage. And fight speed's a lot different than sparring speed.
I got to tell you, and I see it in the gym too, guys that have been knocked out and who've had concussions, if they were a crazy man, they become a little more of a thinking man, right? So,
yeah.
I think it's going to have an impact on Kai Kara-France, to be honest with you. But look, most of these guys get concussions. It's the guys. That's what I love about a guy like Bisping, right? Dude, you knock that guy out, or you knock him down in one round, he comes out the next round like nothing happened. That's what you want out of a fighter. So we'll see if Kai Kara-France can do that. He's got a talented kid in front of him who, again, I think a big growing experience fighting Pantoja, where, again, he could have been the champion.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, if he's got that in his head and he wants to get back there, he's going to have a good night, Erceg.
How important is it, Ray, to try to get one of those opportunities on the come up to where you find your guy in a situation where it is almost a no lose situation? Like, obviously, you don't want to give him an overmatched fight where everyone knows he's going to get stomped and likely, outcome is getting smashed. But for Ursig, I don't know really, in hindsight what the expectations were. I knew that he far and above surpassed them, and we're talking about how great of a night it was for his development. But you also got to be careful if you're a coach and a manager trying to get a guy in a situation like that, because sometimes fight where there's a no lose situation can also have some damage on you in the long run.
Right, 100%. Luckily for him, I think it worked out great for him, because I think, if I'm not real, I might not be correct, but it was more of a fight IQ problem. He was in that fight, right?
100%. It was like a late takedown attempt or something like that.
Where he could have did somewhere. Yeah. It came down to, I think it kind of came down to that, if I'm not mistaken. And that's the difference. So, he handled it well. I guess you got to know your fighter, but it would be bad if the guy had kind of no talent, like almost like boxing, where they used to build the guy up 19-0 and send him in against Tyson, and the guy would just get killed. That was never a good thing. But MMA's different. I don't know if he deserved that title fight, so I think that's what you're going by, is that he came out on top of that. Yeah, he was an overachiever in that fight, So
there aren't many weight classes where you're going to get a UFC title fight in your third or fourth promotional fight, but 125 is one of them, and we've seen this time and time again. It's not necessarily getting your hand raised on any given night; it's just showing that you belong and proving that you're a gamer. And Steve Ursig definitely did that.
100.
And like you said, the fight IQ standpoint, Ray, he might have been able to show enough to walk out the UFC's undisputed flyweight champ, but he just made the wrong decision. We'll see what he does here.
He was right there. So if he keeps that and that doesn't bother him mentally, like, again, he'll have a good night. And Kara France is, like, again, he's not a pushover. He's very talented, but I think Ursig gets that job done.
Yeah. Let's move to the lightweight division. Dan Hooker back in action. The Hangman, he's been out of action for a while, over a year. Last fight was in July of 2023 when he took a split decision over Jalen Turner. He returns to take on Mateusz Gamrot. Gamrot on a 3-fight winning streak. Pretty significant favorite here is Gamrot, minus 325. The comeback on Hooker at plus 260. Gamrot, the number 5 ranked lightweight, taking on the number 11th ranked lightweight in Hooker. How do you see it?
Man, I got to tell you, those odds are bigger than I would have thought. I would have thought it's a closer fight. I guess they're going with Gamrot with the wrestling that when Gamrot he had that fight with Jalen Turner, which I think he's used to the distance now. Turner's, those guys are probably about the same size. Turner, really talented kid. And Gamrot was able to get it done. So I think you're looking at like the same type of fight. And the difference is Jalen Turner had his chance to really jump into that title contention picture with that win, and he didn't do it. Hooker's already kind of been there, done that, fought a lot of good guys, so I don't know where his desire and everything is either, but Gamrot should be able to out-wrestle him.
Last fight we need to talk about on this 305 card, heavyweight's going to collide. Tai Tuivasa, ranked number 10 right now. He's lost his last 4 fights. He takes on Jairzinho Rozenstruik, who is number 12. This is the division, Ray, where you can, afford to maybe come up short time and time again. Hey, but when you got power, like both of these guys do, you're going to find your way on a main card.
You got power, and the guy's exciting. Who doesn't want to see Tuivasa fight?
I want to see Tuivasa do anything, for the record. You can put that guy a reality show, and I'll just watch.
One of the great guys. Deserves a reality show. Honestly, like on the floor, he just hasn't progressed the way he should have. But standing up, man, he's he is going to go in there and throw, and it kind of comes down to the firstest with the mostest is the bestest type of deal.
Right.
I don't know who's going to land, but I'll tell you, I'd like to see that fight play out on the floor, because that would be that would be entertaining. But I don't like when I can't think of the one fight. I think he was winning, and he got taken down, and it just didn't look good. But I'm going to say that fight's got to be kind of even.
From the judges' scoring?
No. From the odds. What are the odds on that?
The odds. Let me see here. I'm scrolling around here. I got it right here. Minus 218 is the favorite Rosenstrike.
Wow.
Tuivasa plus 180.
That's bigger than I thought.
And you are right. I think the fight you're talking about with Tuivasa, I just had it here. I think it was the Alexander Volkov fight. He got taken down in round 2 and got hit with an Ezekiel choke.
Yeah, no, it was bad. But and who is his last 2 opponents?
Rosenstrike last fought Shamil Gaziev, which he won after the 4th round when Gaziev could not continue, quit on the stool. And then before that, he lost to Jailton Almeida, rear naked choke in the 1st round.
I think that fight should be way closer with the odds.
With the odds?
I think two of us has got a good shot in that fight.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to bet against Tai Tuivasa in anything, you know. And I'm always kind of pulling for him because we all want to see the shoey.
That's a really interesting matchup.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So that is it. UFC 305 this Saturday night down in Perth, Western Australia, down under, where it's winter right now, Ray. So it's not the dog days of summer there, I'll tell you that.
How is their winter over there?
I don't know. It's probably nice. I mean, Australia looks pretty nice, right?
It doesn't snow over there, does it?
I don't think so.
I mean, I've been there 3 times. I've never saw any inkling of snow. I don't know if it was the times I was going, but
I don't think so. I mean, I know the toilets flush the different direction, and if you want to go to like the warmer weather, you got to go north there instead of south.
Yeah. So where is Perth now, as opposed to Sydney?
Western Australia.
Wow.
That's all I know. I don't know if it's on the coast. I assume it is. Like, I'm pretty sure Australia. We should hire a geography teacher for us. But I'm pretty sure like Australia, you can only live on the coast pretty much. You live to inland and it's the outback and it's like not habitable. It's like desert.
Yeah, well, I tell you, I love Australia.
Have you ever eaten kangaroo?
Well, no, I haven't eaten kangaroo.
Apparently, that's a thing there. It's pretty tasty.
Probably, but they're some of the nicest people you'll ever meet. Really. I've been there 3 times, and each time was a better experience than the previous. Really, really nice. But the problem is the trip could kill you getting over there. But the people are great, and the food's good. Everything's good, man.
Yeah,
really good stuff.
How have you been? Like, I feel like we don't talk much anymore. I miss you.
I miss you too, buddy. Yeah, I've been busy, man. Really busy, and it's going to get busier because I got Marab at the Sphere coming up, and then I go to Paris with Frivola, and then right back for Aljo. So we got a busy couple of weeks, and then between that, there's the local fights. I just had to back out of one local fight because I just don't even have the time, and I'm going to Aruba next week. So it's been crazy.
Aruba,
Dang. Yeah.
I mean, if you asked me to find Aruba on a map, it's not happening.
Well, it's funny. The guy asked me, where is it? I have no freaking idea.
I assume it's in the Caribbean?
It's by the equator, wherever that is.
You know, like, the only reason I say it's, like, in the Caribbean maybe is because of that old Beach Boys song, Bermuda, Bahama, no. I think they say Aruba, no.
You think they have Aruba in that song?
I think so. But I don't
know. I think Bermuda is like 2 hours. This is 4 hours, so
it's in that same general vicinity.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I'll look it up on the map after this because now I feel like a total dunce that you highlighted on the podcast, which is horrible. But
sorry, right?
I'm going to look it up on the map. I'll get back to you.
I'll let you get on that, and hopefully we'll be chatting again soon.
Awesome. How's Bruce doing?
Oh, Buffer, he's great. He's amazing.
The Buff he's all over the place, man.
He's more places than he even knows.
Anyway, take it easy, man.
All right, thank you, Ray. Appreciate it, sir. Also appreciate our friends over at DraftKings Sportsbook. Let's take a look at the current odds for our main card for Saturday night's UFC 305. It goes down in Perth, Western Australia. The champ, DDP, defending his middleweight title for the very first time against the former 185-pound king in Israel Adesanya. Want to remind you, DraftKings Sportsbook is the official sports betting partner of the UFC. Right now, new customers get $150 in bonus bets instantly with their first $5 bet. Download the app, use the code FIGHTPASS, and claim your $150 in bonus bets right now. That does it for us. For Ray Longo, I'm TJ DeSantis. We'll see you next time for more extra rounds here on UFC Fight Pass.
Invitational, not on UFC. UFC Fight Pass.